Shoot, I forgot to record. There we go. Point slope form. The point that you have, this will be your x1, y1 every time. And then your slope is always your m. So we're just going to take that information and we're going to drop it into that top equation. So it'll be y what? Minus 1 equals your m value, which is 2. And then it's parentheses x what? Minus 4. Okay, so this is point slope form. If they said just leave it in point slope form, you'd be done. But they don't. They say put it into slope intercept form. Talk me through that. How can you put something like this into slope intercept? Yeah, we're going to start with distributing. Okay, so it'll be y minus 1 equals 2x minus 8. Then what? Add the 1. So y equals 2x. Negative 8 plus 1 is a negative 7. Be careful with the negatives. Negatives always throw people for a little bit of a loop. That is slope intercept form. Okay, this is point slope form. So if they say leave it in point slope, it would look like that. If they say put it into slope intercept, you should end here. Okay. So you try number 4. Take this point and this slope and drop it into slope intercept form, but then convert it to slope intercept. Go. Just so you don't get too far doing it the wrong way in case some of you have done something wrong. Let's just tell me what you dropped in. Why what? Y plus 1, right? It's minus a negative 1, so y plus 1 equals, then what? What comes next? The slope, negative 3/4 times x plus 8 minus a negative 8, so x plus 8. Okay, so you're there. Hopefully you got there. Distribute, isolate the y. What's negative 3/4 times 8? Negative 6. Good. Do you have a final answer? Y equals what? Is your slope ever going to change right here? No, it's going to stay the same because it's already acting as m, and m is m, right? So if that changes, you know you did something wrong. Negative 3/4 x. So you had to distribute this. This got you negative 3/4 x minus 6. But you had the y plus 1 over here. What's your last move? Take away the 1. So this is minus 7. So this is slope intercept form. This one is point slope form. Okay, questions on that? Okay. Then the next thing is, what if they don't give you a slope? They just give you 2 points now. So point slope form, you need a point and you need a slope to be able to put it into that. What can you do on a problem like number 5, let's say? They want it in slope intercept, but they just gave you 2 points.
So they don't like the x1 minus x, or you know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying. You're saying it wrong, but I know what you're saying. What is she saying?
Find the slope.
Find the slope, right? Put it into your slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Elijah, Simon, Edie, what are we doing? Yeah, lock in. do this. Look here. So you're going to plug it into your slope formula. I would just identify what you're going to call your x1, y1 and your x2, y2. It doesn't have to be these. You could flip-flop them, but that's what I'm going to do for now. Okay, so if I plug it in, -1 minus 7 over 1 minus a -3, so that's going to be plus a positive. So you get a -8 over 4. So what's your slope? -2. Okay, so we just found the slope, and now we have 2 points. What should we do with a slope and 2 points? What form makes the most sense right now? If you have point slope, okay? Here's the thing. You have 2 points. Do you need 2 points? No. So does it matter which point you use? Nope. If you use either point, eventually you'll get to the same answer, okay? So pick whichever one you want. I would probably do the second one just because smaller numbers tend to go better. So it would be y, then what? +1 minus a -1. So y plus 1 equals the slope, the -2, and then it's x minus your x value, so x minus 1. Distribute that, so y plus 1 equals -2x plus 2, and then your last step is get y by itself, so take away the 1, so y equals -2x plus 1. Questions on that?
Wait, I'm sorry, why did you use the second one?
Just because I wanted to. You're totally welcome to use the first one. Did anyone do the first one and get the same answer? You should have. Yeah, as long as you got the same answer, you did it right. So you can use either one of the points. Just make sure you use the same slope and you'll be good to go. Okay? Questions on that? Okay. This then, you should be able to do for me right now. It says write the equation of a line that is parallel to this line and passes through that point. What do we care about if these lines need to be parallel? The slope, and only the slope, right? That's the only thing we are going to focus on. So what is the slope that we're going to use? 2. This is your slope, okay? Not 2x, just the 2. Everything else you're going to ignore. Okay, this will be your slope. So your slope is 2, and they give you a point. If you have a point and a slope, what are you going to put it into? Point slope, yes. So it's going to be y minus a -1, so y plus 1 equals the slope times x what? Minus a -4, which is x plus 4, so it looks like that, okay? When they ask you to do this, if they don't specify which form, you could leave it like this. This is point slope form, and you could be done. If I say put it into slope intercept form, what are you going to do?
Put it in slope intercept form?
Yeah, how are you going to do that? Distribute. Send that 2 to both things. So y plus 1 equals 2x plus 8, and then take away the 1. So y equals 2x plus 7. Okay, so if we say we want them to be parallel, just remember, we want the same slope. Okay, so we take the slope of 2 from the line, we keep that slope the same, and we plug it into point slope. What if we don't say we want it to be parallel? We say we want it to be perpendicular. This went pretty well on the quiz, by the way. You guys did a good job with these. What does it mean to be perpendicular? What is going to be the opposite reciprocal? The slope. This is your slope, right? 3/4. The rest of it, we don't care about. So if my current slope is 3/4, then what's my perpendicular slope? Yeah, flip it and rip it. Your perpendicular slope should be a -4/3. So now you're using this as your slope, and this as your point, and when you have a point and a slope, it makes the most sense to put it into point slope form, okay? So we're gonna plug that in. Y minus a negative 3, so y plus 3 equals negative 4/3 times x minus your x value. Again, this is point slope form. If we say put it into slope intercept form, then we're going to distribute. So distribute here. Y plus 3 equals a negative 4/3 x. What's negative 4/3 times negative 3? 4. It's positive 4, right? A negative times a negative becomes a positive. So that would be plus 4. And then last step, take away the 3. So you get y equals negative 4/3 x plus 1. Okay, so parallel, we want the same slope. Perpendicular, we want the opposite reciprocal.
When I'm like multiplying a fraction, like if I'm doing like cross multiplication, and one of them is negative, does it apply to both the numerator and denominator?
No, just one. Yep. But you're not cross multiplying there, right?
No, I remember from
The
test.
quiz, yes, yeah. Okay, just making sure. Okay, so that's perpendicular lines. You ready for the test question? Here it is. Okay, a perpendicular bisector. Maybe just put like a big star by this one so you go back and look at it before you take your test this week, because it looks oh so very similar to this. This one's just going to kind of take everything we've done today and put it together and then some. Here's what it says. AB, okay, that's a segment, is formed by these 2 points, -1, 4, and 5, -2. If line L, okay, new line, is the perpendicular bisector of that line, write a linear equation for L in slope-intercept form, graph both AB and L to confirm your answer graphically, okay? Where would you start?
Graphing AB.
I would graph AB. That's what I would do too. So let's start here. We have these 2 points. A is -1, 4. Be careful when you graph these. I think sometimes people mix up their X's and Y's. If the number is -1, 4, you're going 1 to the left, 1, 2, 3, 4, up, okay? And label it. That's point A. -1, 4. Okay, point B is at 5, -2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the right, 1, 2, down. Okay. What is that making for us right now? A segment, right? It has an end, so it's not going to keep going, but you have segment AB. Okay. Talk me through something else you know and what we could maybe do with it. Yes. Of A and B? Okay, so you could call this X1 and Y1, X2 and Y2, or vice versa. What else? Ryan?
Could you find out the slope of AB?
I think that would be a great idea. Why would it be helpful to find the slope of AB?
Because then you could just plug it in for, like you can just put it in slope, like the intercept of form. You can just put it in the form and then, I don't know their names.
You could put it in the form. What were you going to say, Ryan?
Then you know L's slope.
Okay, if we know AB's slope, and line L is what to line AB? Parallel or perpendicular? Perpendicular. So you could find the slope of that other line L, right? So start with the slope of AB. Okay, if we're going to do the slope of AB, remember that's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So if I go y2, -2, minus y1, that's the 4, over, what's going to be my denominator right now? 5 plus 1, x2 minus a -1. So 5 minus a negative is going to be 5 plus 1. Okay, simplify that. -6 on top, 6 on bottom. What is the slope of line AB? -1, right? Down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1. Okay, so we have that slope. What does that mean for the slope of line L? The line we're trying to get. It's going to be a positive one. We need the opposite reciprocal of AB's slope. Okay, so if AB has a slope of -1, the opposite reciprocal is a positive 1. So the slope of line L is 1. Okay, now what it asks for is to write a linear equation in slope-intercept form for line L. We know the slope, but we need some point for this. What does the question say line L is? A what? It is a bisector, right? It's a perpendicular bisector. What does a bisector do? Hello, Mrs. Rietfeld. Who are you looking for? Rosalie, right there. Thank you. Okay, so if it's a perpendicular bisector, how in the world can we bisect AB? What do you think?
Find the point, then cut it in half. Divide by 2.
Find a point and then cut it in half. What do you mean by that?
I was thinking like you take the segment, like cut it in half and find the point where they meet.
We want that middle point. That's where we're trying to get. Simon.
Can't you just connect them like that?
Connect what?
The A, just move it down, and B, like where they meet is technically like the middle.
I mean, there is a way to do it like that. I'm not sure I understand what you're saying for sure. Are you just going to... Do you want to come show me on this?
Never mind.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I just don't know if I'm understanding what you're saying.
I don't think it's right. I was just like saying
Essentially, you want to try?
that. Like I was just saying, you can just like, can't you just like go into like these connect and then technically like, isn't that the bisector?
That's not even the way I was going to do it. That's beautiful. Is that point he just found on the perpendicular bisector? It totally is. You guys, I haven't even taught you that rule yet, but it totally is. So you could do it that way. Remember the midpoint formula though? Right? If we found the midpoint of AB, right? The midpoint of AB, this is a capital M, not a lowercase m. This is not the slope of AB. We found that. We want the midpoint, okay? The midpoint of AB. Here's the other way you could do it. This way maybe is a little more foolproof, I guess, if you will, because this is a nice slope. It doesn't always work out to a nice slope. So what you're going to do is you're going to find that point in the middle by taking points A and B, these two, and just dropping them into the midpoint formula. Remember midpoint formula? x1 plus x2 divided by 2 and y1 plus y2 divided by 2. So my midpoint is going to be x1 plus x2, -1 plus 5 divided by 2, and then 4 plus -2 divided by 2. Okay, so that makes my midpoint 4 over 2, or 2. and 2 over 2, so 1. Okay, that's the midpoint of AB. Well, if I want the perpendicular bisector of AB, I need a point that's on it, 2, 1. And what else to make that line? The slope, which we already found. So now you have a point and a slope that you can put into point slope form. So you're going to take this number and this number and put that into point slope form. I'm going to go over here because I took up a lot of space there. Hopefully you didn't take up as much space. So I'm going to go y minus y1 equals the slope, which is also 1, times x minus your x1 value, which was 2. How do you put that into slope-intercept form? Do we have to distribute the 1? We don't, right? It doesn't change anything. So y minus 1 equals x minus 2. All you got to do is add the 1, and you get y equals x minus 1. How'd you do? Okay. Can I tell you something, though? If you did it Simon's way, if you took that point and you used that as your point and 1 as your slope, you would get the same answer. It would work. Good job, Simon. Okay. Okay. I want you to try reciprocal. Okay. So you take that 2 that you found and you flip it and you change the sign. Simon, stop it. You gotta change seats in this class. Mostly Simon needs to come sit right here, I think, is what we're gonna do. So you have a new slope, okay? With that being the slope, then we need to know what that midpoint is. Some of you said, could I just count it off? You can, if you count correctly. I don't recommend it. Midpoint formula does this and gives you the point -6, -1. So you wanna use that point and that slope and put it into point slope and then put it into slope intercept, okay? And then you're allowed to graph this either from slope intercept form or just move the slope down 1 over 2 would work too.